Alright guys, this is a little test video. See how this is going to work out. Next video I'll start pulling this motor down, but I kind of want to go over some stuff with you first. Some things that I've heard everybody talk about, some different issues. Let's see, the first one I hear a lot of guys talking about when they're driving along, the reverse light starts to flicker and it feels like it's cutting out. It feels like the engine's cutting out. What it is it's this switch right here. That switch right there is your reverse light switch. What that does when you put it in reverse, here's the end of the wire. When you put it in reverse, this switch goes from ground to open. When it goes open, in other words, it's not making connection through the block to ground. When it goes open, it turns on the reverse light. Lets you know that you're in reverse. It also lets the computer, or the CID, also lets it know that you're in reverse. And the CID puts a rev limiter in to, I think, like 1500 RPM, so that when you're in reverse, you can't go that fast. So what happens is this little switch right here goes bad. Inside, it goes to open, breaks the connection to ground, goes open, turns the light on. The CID thinks you're in reverse. It starts trying to cut the engine RPM down. You can replace this switch. It just unscrews. You can get them. You can get these switches anywhere. Yamaha, they have them. I've replaced probably 3 of them, and within a couple of months, it starts doing the same thing. So what I did is on this wire, even before this connection, the wire goes into a harness down in the down alongside the engine bay right here. I've just taken and cut that wire, and I just put a ringlet on it, and then just went to ground on one of these bolts. That will stop that completely. The only thing is, when you do put it in reverse, it will not turn on the reverse light, and you don't get a rev limiter on the reverse. So if you're somebody that likes to go fast in reverse, you might not want to do that. But it stops that completely. It stops that reverse light from coming on. Let's see what else we got. On this side, these are your wires out of your magneto and your stator for your ignition timing, and also for your generator. The wires come out of here, out of the stator, and goes to the rectifier, and then that's what gets you your 12 volt DC for your charging system. Also, the other 2 sets of wires that come out of there for your ignition to fire the coils for your spark plugs. That's all back in behind this cover right here. This cap right here is for your timing. You pull that off, you can see your ignition timing in your top dead center. I'll get into more of that when I'm taking this one apart or putting it back together. I'll show you guys a real easy trick to set the cam timing with the timing chain when you're putting it back together here. It's even easy when you're doing it in the vehicle, but it's even easier out here. When I'm putting it back together, I'll go over adjusting the valves, intake valves, exhaust valves, some more stuff on this side of the engine. Some of you guys may not know, this little screw right here, that's for an oil pressure check. They say in the manual, if you're not sure you've got oil pressure, pull this little screw out right here, or just back it out. Don't take it all the way out, just back it out, and either crank the engine over or start it. And if you see oil start coming out of here, then you do have oil pressure. This is the main oil line coming off of the filter housing, comes over here. This is where it feeds the crankshaft and the internals there, then comes up through this line right here into the head, and this feeds your cam and all that in the head. So this is your oil pressure check. This is right off the end of the cam bearing. And another thing I'm going to show on this, I put an idiot light on mine for an oil pressure idiot light, and what I did is right here with this banjo bolt, you can take this banjo bolt out and flip it over and drill a hole from the back side all the way through to the top, and then you can thread the hole with an 1/8 inch pipe thread, and then you can I put an elbow on mine with a it's just a on-off pressure switch. It comes on at less than 2 psi, and then I put a really bright LED on my dashboard to let me know if I lose oil pressure. I know a lot of guys want to put an oil pressure gauge in. Unless you're consistently watching the gauge, which I don't know anybody that really sits there and watches the oil gauge all the time, but if you lose oil pressure, if you're not watching the gauge, you're not going to see it. With an idiot light, as soon as the light comes on, you know you got a problem, you can turn it off. If you're watching the gauge and it drops oil pressure but you don't see it, you can still keep going and still tear up the motor. So I'll go over that. I'll show you guys how to do that too. Let's see what else. On water, this is the water outlet where it comes out, and then this goes to the radiator. There's a bleed port right here. So when you guys are filling these, if you're changing coolant or you're putting a new motor in or changing motor, whatever, that's a little bleed port right there. You can loosen that up. Either loosen it up or take it all the way out when you start filling it, and then once you start getting coolant coming out of here, then you can close that off and then finish filling the radiator. This, it looks like a thermostat housing. The 660s do not run a thermostat. It looks like you could put one in there, but they don't run a thermostat, at least on all the ones I've seen. This is a bleed hose that comes from the water pump. Down here, it's just a weep hose, so you don't get air trapped in the water pump. It leads it up to the top. This right here is the water pump. When you go to drain the system, if you want to drain the coolant out of the motor and out of the system, this bolt right here is a drain for your water pump or for your water system. You just take that out and it just lets all the coolant drain out. It won't drain the radiator completely because of the way the radiator is set up. The hoses on the radiator are halfway up the radiator itself, so you won't be able to drain the radiator completely unless you take it out. But this bolt right here drains the system. It drains the coolant system, gets all the coolant out of the motor, all that good stuff. It's pretty much the lowest part of the motor, or the lowest part of the coolant system, other than this pipe right here. So let's see some of the issues I found with this motor that we're gonna have to deal with. First off is this. It's a Nietzsche cylinder. I've dealt with 4 of these things already. Big bore kits, the 686 big bore kits, the steel sleeve in the cylinder will drop and lose seal on the head gasket, so it basically blows the head gasket. From what I understand from the guy that I got this motor from, he said everything was fine, it ran fine, it just blew a head gasket. I think that's probably the problem right there. I may have to, I've got another stock cylinder and piston I might just put on here to replace it. We'll see how it is when I get into it. This motor is also supposed to have a hot cams in it. That's the old stock cam. He said he put this cam in it. I'll show you guys how to check the bulb height and duration and all that good stuff on it too. So maybe we can compare the cams so you can see what the difference is between the cams. Let's see what else. This one I also noticed. Flashlight. This is the drive where it goes to the rear drive shaft. You can see those teeth in there. Let's see here. Put this up here. You can see how those teeth are worn. How sharp they are. Right here. How sharp that tooth is. Those are worn really bad. This piece needs to be replaced, because what happens is those teeth wear out and then they strip out, and then you've got no rear wheel drive. And the only way you're going to get home is with front wheel drive. Put it in 4-wheel drive, it'll still get you home. But I also noticed on the front drive shaft. Spin this around real quick. This is the one going to the front drive shaft. These are also pretty worn. You can see up in there that they're right there. You can see that they're pretty worn too. So I'm going to replace this shaft too. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I've got this cooler going, but hopefully it's not too loud. So, but we'll get into the sheaves. Primary, secondary sheave. We'll pull the primary sheave apart, see what it's got for weights in it, see if they've changed any weights, put any heavier weights or lighter weights. Heavier weights for going faster, lighter weights for low end for like mud bogs and that kind of stuff. That's pretty much it for now on this motor. Somebody went and changed the top oil deal there. I'm not sure why. It's a different kind of hookup. They could actually put a pressure port right there and check it there, but it's right underneath that tube, so it'd be kind of tough unless you put a small elbow or something in there. I like my idea right there. That has worked out really good for me on mine. So I'll give you a quick tour of this other one that I just picked up that this motor's going in. This is it here. This thing's got less than, or just over 3,000 miles, 3,300 miles on it. Blown engine. And when you say blown, it's blown. Rod and piston tried to make an exit right through the block there, through the case. You can see through the, there's what's left of the bearing on the crankshaft. It just came completely apart. I'm going to kind of get into, everybody wants to know about the aftermarket CIDs. Everybody's got their opinion on them, including me. I have my opinion on them. I don't care for them, because what they do is they take out the rev limiter. These engines are set to, their rev limiter stock is 6,000 RPM. So when you take the rev limiter out, you start turning these little motors at over 6, 7, 8, even 9,000 RPM, things tend to come apart, as proof right there. So everybody wants to go faster with these. You know, they buy a Rhino thinking that they're going to be able to keep up with Razors and the Yamahas and all this other stuff, and you know what? These things just weren't built to go that fast. You can do it. I've seen them get 40, 50, 55, even 60 mile an hour out of them. But as I said, this one's got 3,000 miles on it and a blown motor. I don't know how many miles mine has got as stock, everything's stock, but it's a 2004. The guy that I bought it from, he saw him in a magazine. He didn't even see it in person, and he went to the dealership and he said, I want this when it comes in. So he ordered his sight unseen. And then I've got another buddy that his is a 2006, 10,000 miles on it, bone stock, doesn't burn a drop of oil. The only thing we've done to it is the sheaves, working on the sheaves, changing the weights, always putting belts in it. And not because they're breaking, just because we're keeping up on maintenance with them. And then I've got another buddy, he just picked up a 700, a 2008 700 with 13,000 miles on it. And yeah, bone stock, been well taken care of. So yeah, this one, I might be selling this one after I get it running, after I get everything together on it. I might just go ahead and turn around and sell it. It does have Bilstein shocks with E-box springs on all four corners. It's got the aluminum high doors on it. This one, it's got a lever right here and a pin that opens it. Now, I don't know who designed these doors, but they weren't really thinking a whole lot that cables were never going to break. You see that cable right there from the lever? It goes right inside the tube right there, all the way over here to the back side of this pin, but there's no way to get to it. And then it looks like it's just welded in on the other side here. Problem is, on the passenger door, the cable broke. So there's no way to get into that, or at least not that I have found, rather than cutting off the end of it here. Get in there and put another cable on, or figure out another latch. So instead of cutting on it and messing with it, trying to get that pin to come undone, I just took the door off, put it up on top, and just unbolted the door. I actually needed it out of the way when I start doing this stuff. I start putting the motor in it anyway. This thing does have the Simpson racing seats. These are really nice. I sat in it the other day. Now I haven't sat in one that has the razor seats, but I did sit in this one, and it feels like you're sitting in a marshmallow. These seats are really comfortable. I don't know. They may find their way into mine. We'll see. But like I said, once I get this motor put together, and depending on how much I got to put into the motor to get it going and all that good stuff, I might just end up selling this one. So as we go through the videos, if you guys are interested in buying it, let me know. I'm thinking, just as a rough estimate, once I get it together, probably about $4 grand. Asking $4 grand for it, but we'll see how it goes, see how much I got to put in the motor and all that, and then go from there. It does have a lot of nice parts on it. It's got the headlights here. That's the drivers there for the headlights. They are bright. They take a lot of power, but they're bright. It's got two little LED cubes down there on the bottom. It's got two whips, but only one of them works. They're RGB whips, I guess. They're not RGB. I've had really good luck with the 5150 whips. I've liked them really well. They're a little expensive, but I like them real well. This does have the nice chase bar across the back. I do like that. But I can't put this roll cage on mine. For one thing, I don't like that it bolts to the bed here, and it also has this crossbar here, so you cannot lift the bed. It's not that I haul anything with mine, but when I have to work on it, I like to be able to tip the bed to get to the back side of the motor, back in there, to be able to work on it to do it. This one I also have to do. I'm gonna get the that kit from, I think, Jason Baxter. This one does have a broken tab on the rear diff, so I'm going to get that kit from Jason Baxter and put that in. We'll also do a video on that so you guys can see the install on that. But I think that's about it for now. I'm going to see how this video turns out. If it's good, I'll post it. If not, I'll do another one. There it is. This is a 2008 660. So everything else seems to be in pretty decent shape. It's just they blew the motor on it. And it does have a, what is it, FS digital aftermarket CID. Yeah, FS digital. So might trade that to somebody that's got a stock one. I'll go ahead and send them the engine case with it so they can see what happens when they put them in. But that's just my opinion. See you in the next video.